Hey guys, I'm DM Zone. This is Gamers Oasis. Let's get into this. Pew 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 pew. Mayhem 2022, Easter Mayhem. That is. Never done a Mayhem. Played the game now. Coming up on my anniversary. I guess it'll be 2 years this year. I'm about 21 months into it, I think. I guess. Um, I'm a free-to-play player. I'm a non-dippo player. That means I don't put money into the game. I do accept gifts. I think that's foolish for me not to. If the gifts are based upon how my character interacts with other people or my videos, I don't know how I'd be able to distinguish between those two things. Basically, I was given an opportunity to receive some gifts a couple times this year already, and I'm very thankful to those people. I've not shouted them out individually because it wasn't for that. They were gifts. They weren't like sponsorships or that type of stuff. And they they did not to be heard, if that means they're being generous. So this last one was for me to be able to go do Mayhem, and you may have seen a video where I talked about that specifically. I was given 5 Arcadia Underground deeds to go ahead and sell to then turn into Mayhem push. I have sold a Arcadia Underground deed that was given to me prior. I made about 108 off of that one because of the rush, because of the Arcadia Underground deeds were going down at that moment because of Mayhem. I wasn't able to get anywhere near that. I ended up getting between like 90, I want to say 95 and like 100 on each one. So there was a pretty good amount of PED lost or opportunity lost for that, but not the end of the world. Certainly got me into Mayhem. I'm going to get more into what all this is and the amount of video content that came from this over the next little bit. Unfortunately, because of the nature of how fast-paced everything is, how I was trying to spend as much time in the Mayhem to gain as many skills and as many points as possible, I did not keep accurate details like I usually do in my videos. In my normal videos, I spend 15 PED once or twice a month, maybe 4 times a month, and I'm able to, do all my details and that type of stuff. And this type of thing, I'm sitting down with 150, 300 PED, and I'm recycling the ammo because I'm just going through it a lot. I ended up leaving with about 11 PED worth of actual PED in my bank, with an item up on the auction hall from a crafting run that I did based upon. So there was okay. So I did a couple what I'm calling mega crafting runs because I had to go do some mining, and I thought I might as well go to Acapulco. I think it's how you pronounce it. Some places got the oil and the Listerium only. And I needed to harvest Listerium or oil to be able to complete part of the Corna's hunting task for the key. You might know though I'm talking about in Calypso. I'm going to be doing a whole video series on that because I ended up getting the first 2 keys and completing those instances. So anyways, I want to say the Enigma keys. I think that's right. Anyways, the part of the reason why I did that was I had the mission already, and it completed when I was just on some DACAs, and I was like, what is this? And I went over, oh, that's cool. Let me see what the reward for this is. And I went and looked and says, okay, it's an 8-part mission. It's a lot of parts, but it's hunting. That's good. I need to get my ranged laser damage up more, so I can use the AR-15s or the LR-15s, and that'd be very helpful instead of just an LR-10. So I went ahead and looked at it, like, oh wait, there's a 50% skill boost for 5 hours. That's a lot of skill boost, and that's a lot of hours. As long as I'm not just doing nothing, that makes a lot of sense. So I said, okay, I want those pills. I want to get at least one of those pills, and then I'll see if I can complete the mission, and maybe there's a part 2 or whatever, or it continues, and it did. Because I pulled it up, there was like, 1, 2, and 3, and I was like, oh, maybe they connect to each other, I assumed. So I went ahead and did that, but during that, I'd have to go mining every now and then for Listerium or ore, which is where I've gone back to. And in that process, I ended up having my first ever global on Listerium, and that was pretty amazing. First ever global on any sort of mining, and up to that point in time, it was my biggest global ever. So it was a 60 some odd ped global, pretty awesome. Went ahead and put that aside, and I was like, well, I might as well do more of this, and I'll hopefully get oil. So I went ahead and went back, got my next mission. A few missions later, had to go back and get more Listerium or ore. Went back. This time I got a global in oil. Was not quite as much. You'll see those videos when they come out in the mine and craft for during the mayhem and everything. There'll be 2 different videos. But it was over 50 ped. And it's another good one. So with that, now I could go ahead and do couple of these mega crafting runs. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do a mega crafting run, I might as well go over and do this on Menorah and maybe risk flying to Menorah with this ore and everything. And then that's when I found out through my research that you didn't actually have to be on Menorah to do it. Menorah, Monria, not Menorah. Menorah is a pest in Arcadia. Anyways, Monria. You didn't have to be on Monria to do it. You had to, because Monria is a moon of Calypso, so you could be on Calypso. So that's perfect. So I went over there and I did the 3 steps before, and I recorded that. So I'm going to be doing a video on the chain of to get to. The waiting on supplies engineering quest that you can do with Toby. And I went ahead and got that. I went ahead and did that. I took that back, flew back to Calypso. I did a craft, what I'm calling a mega craft. And I was told at the time, but I don't think it's necessarily true. I wasn't told personally, but I watched the video, and in the video they said that 1,000 was the most crafts you could do that would be tracked. And I thought, well, that's amazing. Let's do that. And I had enough ability to do 1,000 crafts of basic filters. So I went ahead and did 1,000 craft run of basic filters. I'm going to be doing a video on that just to show that. That'll be attached to the mine and craft. And I got a little over half of my 500 successes on a fairly new basic filter blueprint. Okay, so I'll do it again. I should get even more, and it will be at the 500, and I can go turn this in. So I went ahead, did it again because I had enough supplies to do 2,000 craft runs on basic filters. So I went ahead and did that. And that will be part of the second one. So I'll have my global with Listerium, 1,000 craft run, and I'll have my global with the oil, and that will be with 1,000 craft run, which would be awesome. And then I flew back to Monria, turned in that quest, which will be its own additional video, and that is pretty exciting. I got, I want to say, 15 profession advances. My professions were very, very low. I want to say I had like probably less than 100 points of engineering points, but my engineering points went skyrocketing, which then raised a bunch of my skills, my professions, and from all this, the 75 peck worth of engineering skill. So I went ahead and did that, and I was like, okay, well, I've still got a tremendous amount of Listerium. I'm stuck here. Mayhem's still going on, so I'll do Mayhem from here, which was I didn't like that because that meant I had to fly back with the Easter boxes, and those are lootable if I'm not mistaken. If you get killed in the PvP area, that's lootable. And I did get killed one time by a pirate, and that was fresh in my mind. So I was like, really don't want to do that. So let's not do that. But I went ahead and flew back. It was fine. But what I did was I was like, okay, well, maybe I could take 60 of my ped. I'll probably get most of it back. And the Shoggoths, I'll go ahead and do 4 Shoggoth hunts, and then I will have that in addition to all my other hunting things. So I'll keep track of my skills during this period of time, which is a great idea. And then that would be good. So I'll do my normal video making of that time right there. Then I went ahead and was like, well, there's also the antlers or the horns or whatever they're called that you can get from there from killing Shoggoths and other things. Let me go ahead and start that just in case I get the horns. And then I got doing that, and then I was like, wait a second. I realized that there is now a daily mission here that is for Shoggoths, which is pretty amazing. I could go there, do a daily for Shoggoths, and then I sort of developed a new routine. And I've not done the routine yet, so I'm going to video me doing the routine probably in a couple months while I build up the ability to do this, because it's a many step. Like, I want to make my trip from Arcadia to Arcadia Moon to all the way to the Calypso Moon of Monria. I want to make that fluid, so it's just one time and then I come back, because that is a tremendous amount of way to go for something. But I also want to do 5 of these waiting for supplies, because I'm told that should get some of my skills or professions to 10 or right at it. And then when you get to 10, then you unlock a hidden skill for crafting, and that would be huge. Then I want to, it's going to really get me going when I get to that. And I think it's called Serendipity, I think is the one. And that's not just for crafting, that's also for shooting and all sorts of stuff, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's right. So anyway, that was my pathway for that. And even if it's not 5, if it's 6, that's fine. It's just an extra trip, and make also a great video that I didn't take 5. It took this. So I don't know what it is. I will tell you, I have done it twice. So I went back, did the second part of the Kenora's hunt to get the second pill, because the first pill was amazing and worked beautifully. My skills flourished like I've never seen. And I completed that task. I got the pill again for that, but I had to do more hunting or mining and whatnot. Ended up killing a lot of merps, by the way, which is really cool. I'm going to be doing the Enigma Key mission and talking about that type of stuff too in its own video. So we're looking at like 10 videos here already, 12 videos, something like that. A lot. Anyways, and that's not even the Mayhem stuff. Then I went ahead and did the waiting on supplies again, because why not? And this was actually after Mayhem had ended, and I got to a good round off point in Mayhem, and I was happy with that. So I went ahead and went back, turned in my supplies, and I was like, well, before I leave, so I don't have to come back here to get the weighty and supplies and go to Calypso to go ahead and do this. Let me just do the smart thing and wait 24 hours and I'll get my thing. So I went ahead and did that, and I completed my 4 60 pet hunts or 15 pet hunts to get that. So it was good with time and that type of stuff. Turned it in, and this time I got like 13 profession jumps instead of like 15, but that is still a tremendous amount of profession jumps. Right now, my tailoring and my mechanic, I think, for like the basic filters profession tree, I guess. Those are almost at third level profession, which is pretty incredible. When I get to 5, I will be able to start doing welding wire, and I have so much welding wire blueprints. They have so many crafts. It's amazing. But I'm not going to start that until it makes sense. And I don't know what that actually means. It may make sense if I'm at 5 because it will power level me up. It might make sense if I'm at 7.8 or 8, so that I'm not having as much waste. Or it might make sense that I only do it when I'm at 10, so I have like 0 chance of failure, and my 93 crafts actually means 93 crafts. I don't know what that means yet because I've never used a limited blueprint, but this is something that I'm looking at. And I don't know how many actual attempts I have. I want to say I have like 8 different blueprints for welding wire, all of them limited. And I want to say my smallest one is probably like a 13, I want to say. But then my next smallest is like a 43. So even if it was only 50 per one, that's still 400 crafts. And I'm much closer to like 800, or not even 800, like 650 probably than I am 400. So, because I know there's several that are like right there in the 90s. So it's going to be super cool. So that's going to be a lot of crafts. And that's going to be a big push at some point in time, because that's going to turn into welding wire, which I'm then going to use on vehicle repair, which I then will use on, it's a snowball again. It just continues. So I'm hoping that, that would be a really good thing. And then they came out with this doggone video with the Arcadia devs, and it kind of sent me down a different direction. And I made a video on that, and that's been fairly well received. If you haven't watched that, I'll link it so you can see it. But in there, it kind of made me think of some things I want to do. And one of those things I want to do is I want to have... I want to focus on where Arcadia is going to be, so I am there when it gets there. I trust the team that I'm not going to be hurt, or I'm not going to be upset because I went this direction. And I think that if it shares anything else, or if it shares with other things, that's okay, but it really needs to be specifically Arcadia. And the less it shares, probably the better it will be. Because the less it shares, the more likely it will be something that other people don't have. So I'm going to be doing the artifact preservation and mining exclusively. This is going to mean I'm not going to be doing a lot of my Listerium crafts for the basic filters for a minute, but I might go and do enough to do another 1,000 run every now and then. But I'm going to be doing my mining runs for the artifact stuff. And then my goal is not to sell any of the stuff and just stockpile it. The problem with artifact pieces or parts that you find, there's nothing to make with them. They're dead ends. But if they are going to give purpose to artifact preservation, and I am, let's say, sitting on a couple hundred ped of, stuff that no one wants or uses right now, and I'm not talking about buying stuff, I'm talking about mining my own stuff, but I'm only be mining artifact stuff. And I just sit on it, and I don't sell it, and I don't do anything, and, it's extra money, I guess you could say, or extra ped put there and left. When I get to that point, if in 6 months, a year from now, they start to give purpose to these things are going to start gaining markup, and I will be right there waiting for that good time on the markup. Or I'll be making the stuff that people are having to buy markup items for. And then when I sell those things, I will have basically no markup because I will have all this time and not that it's just like I mined it that day, But I think that the way for me to do it is to save it until there's markup. It's kind of like buying a deed for or a share for like 10 ped and hoping that you get a 50% return and sell it for 15 ped. If there's a wave of people come in and these things go from nothing to 150% markup, now I just did the same thing. But it's not in a deed, it's something I can sell, at least for TT. If 3 years from now that goes and they don't do anything, I just have TT food that I can make my money back on. Whereas if I have a deed, it's worth one peck. That's all it is. So it's solid value with a potential of growth, in my opinion. So I'm going to be going to an area that I feel is really good. You'll see it when I get there. And I'm just going to be running around with my F101 until I get to where I can use my F103, and it's a benefit. And I'm just going to be laying it down for the artifact preservation, and it's just going to be artifact after artifact after artifact pieces. And then that's just going to go straight into a bank, and it's not going to be touched. And then hopefully in 6 months, a year, they'll give purpose to some or all of the things I have, and then that will become of greater value. Also, the other thing is, if I hyper focus on a single thing, there's a potential I'll be all the way up to an F105 on that thing, and I can actually start going to places like the moon where I already am, and I literally will have all these things on the moon doing this. And all I gotta do is get from the moon in my quad to Arcadia planet. And the Arcadia planet is going to be potentially for artifact stuff, just like it would be going to Calypso. Because you can't go to Calypso and find artifact pieces. You have to go Arcadia planet. So if you're looking to buy artifact pieces, you're going to buy it from Arcadia. You're not going to buy it from Calypso. Now, I think there's a place called Treasure Island that also has it, and that might be the one-off. If that is the case, and I know that is an indoor room or an indoor location, as they call it, which means it's like the Arcadia moon. Your depths are cut in half or whatever, so you really have to have high skill to be able to go there. I might be able to go there when I get to that point. And then the question is, am I going to amp? Am I not going to amp? Is it worth amping? And then, because you're trading markup items for non-markup items, it might not be worth it. But eventually, it's going to be pretty cool. And that's kind of what my big push is. And I'm putting it out there because what I'm doing, I think, is such a small footprint that it won't make a huge difference. And then if other people are doing it, it's not going to hurt me anything. It may affect the end, how much markup is going for, but I really don't think so. I'm not Serial Overdrive running into marketing problems because he's talking about how he sells things on the auction hall, and then other people do exactly what he's doing and cut him out of the market. I don't think that's me. But anyways, so that's kind of the direction I'm going, and that's kind of like a basic what Mayhem was, the craziness of Mayhem. So this will basically be the third in a crazy run through space and time type of thing, because Mayhem was very action-packed, full, very hard to navigate, shall we say. There was a lot going on. A lot. I was given a quad, as you've seen. I was given these deeds, as you've seen. And I gained about 5,500 to 6,000 skill points in about 2 weeks, which is a lot considering I'm now at like 33,000, 35,000, whatever it is, skill points. That's like, it was like 1/7, 1/5 of my entire time of playing Entropia Universe in 2 weeks for skill points. That really is a stark comparison. Because if I had $50 to depot, and I could do that again and again and again, I don't know. That'd be crazy. But I don't, and I'm not going to. I'm going to continue the harder path and make it all worth it in the end. I'm hoping, also going to put this out there, speak this into truth, I guess you could say, that when all this comes forward, and if I get enough of a markup, let's say some of this goes crazy and there's 500% markup, and I'm able to 5x what I've set aside, and let's say I have enough, I can maybe get like a shopkeeper pad, or I can get me an apartment, or depending on how long of the wait is. I think the longer the wait, the bigger the increase could be at the end. If it's that, then maybe, maybe I can afford a shop. Maybe there'll be cheap shops and I will be in position to buy one because I'll have the money. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I would love to turn this into that, because that's one of those super hard to achieve goals as a free-to-play player. And then from there, it will allow me to expand what I'm doing. I don't want to be the shopkeeper that has everything on the floor, but shop pads are like 2,500 to 4,000 ped. I might have to... One second. I might have to be that guy until I'm not that guy and I can actually afford a shopkeeper pad. But I hate walking those shops because it instantly becomes so laggy. I hope I'm not that. But there are some things that are just better displayed that way, like pets and whatnot. So some things will always be that way. But anyways, we'll get into that in the future. If you got value out of this, hit the like button. I know it's a long video, so if you've seen it this far, I appreciate it. And, look for the next ones. I'm going to be talking a lot more about my experience in Mayhem and the differences. I have 3 different Mayhem videos I'm planning on releasing that break down Mayhem in 3 different ways. And then I'll be going into all of these other missions that I just talked about. So, lots of stuff coming. Hope you guys enjoy it. See you guys in the next video, and keep airing that pet. Bye.